over the last few years, I have purchased and tested a lot of budget-friendly effect lights for our church. So I thought I'd go through them and just give you my opinions on what lights might be a good fit for your church as we build out this tier list of effect lighting. All right, we've got 14 different lights here. Let's go through and rank them from God tier all the way to meh. And let's start off with the very first light on the list, which I've got to throw in God tier, and that is the Boulder Variable White Zoom Wash. I want to put this one at the very top because it is a light that we use all the time for years now to light our stages, like the key light, actually. And so this light is a light that is basically an R2X from Chauvet variable white version, but for like $350. So we just purchased, I think, 8 of the R2X variable whites for our main worship center, but I've also got 8 of these Boulder Pros, and they are, let's see, if the R2X is $1,800 and these are $350, yeah, I mean, I can buy 4 of these lights at least for the price of one R2X. And honestly, they've been great. They output a really nice light with all the diodes on it, like 4,500 Kelvin. And the zooming abilities, the flexibility they give you, man, those have got to be God tier. Okay, let's move on to, I've reviewed a lot of Sheds lights over the years. So let's pull up this Sheds 150 watt beam light. And I mean, it's a really high quality light. It's very bright, but I think for me, I'm going to put it in the niche category because it is a beam and you really can't do much else with it. Like, you're going to get a really tight beam. I forget even what it is, like maybe 8 degrees or 10 degrees, something like that. And you're going to need a lot of these lights to achieve that big effect that you want. So if you want beams, and you only want beams, then that Sheds 150 is a decent niche light for the price. One light that I have on this list that's not one of those off brands is the Chauvet Intimidator 255 IRCs. We've had these lights for years now. And when I say years, probably some of them 8 years. They don't even make the 255s anymore. But I'm going to stick this light in the fantastic, because for the new models, the 260s, 265s, whatever they call them, it's not 265 watts. Like, that's not how bright the LED is. So don't get tricked by that. But these are just like little spots that you can throw somewhere. You can throw in different gobos into them. They don't have zoom or iris on board. So really these are going to be good for like backlight, some gobos, and the thing I put them in fantastic for is like price of, I think we got these back in the day for like $550 each versus how long they have worked. So in all the years of me just running these all the time, I think I've had one that has had an issue. So those Intimidator line of Chauvet, if you can't afford the R2X, like, don't be afraid to go for that. If you don't, it's like that step up from Sheds, B-Topper, or some of these other ones. So the Intimidator line, I'm going to put in the fantastic category. Let's look at another one of my favorite lights that's just an Amazon special. And these are on sale right now. I think even cheaper. I think like $85 or so. And I'm going to put these, I'm going to go fantastic on these as well. The OPPSK strobes. We used these for a long time as just color wash for our audience lights. So just facing straight down, mounted in our worship center. And they were great for that. They have a super wide spread of light, but they also are completely silent, which with all of these lights, that's not something you're usually going to get in the cheaper and even the expensive range sometimes. But they're very bright. They're kind of like a American DJ Jolt ripoff with just that big white band in the middle. Now, OPPSK and some of these other brands, all these brands have a version of this light. But the reason I keep going back to this one is there's no fan. And so if you're going to throw 20 of these as your backdrop, like, a lot of these churches, Red Rocks, other places are doing with the bigger brother versions of these lights, that fan noise can add up. So these are plenty bright for a strobe, and great for washing walls, things like that as well, just because of the wide wash. So I'm going to put those in fantastic. Okay, let's go to the B-Topper 7x40. This light I'm going to throw in the good category. I think for the price, it does some really cool stuff, but what I found with it was I didn't really use the sunflower starburst thing as much as I thought I was going to. And so it kind of just ended up being another Zoom wash light. And it is a good light. It's a little bit smaller than some of those 19 by 15 watts. And it's really bright at 7 by 40. But I think it's just a good light, and you're going to need a lot of those lights if you want to achieve that effect, at least 4, I'd say. So, but if you're looking for that starburst effect, that's a good cheap version. I would say that the next step up from that is the bigger brother of the B-Topper light, and it is a 19 by 40 watts. So instead of 7 by 40, it's 19 by 40. And I'm also going to throw this one in the good category from B-Topper. I think mainly because it's a pretty beastly big light, and it does cost a little bit more money. And I still think that it's a little bit limited on the flexibility. Also, it draws a lot of power, and so we were tripping breakers, even just trying to use 2 of these in a school gymnasium. So you have to be mindful of that if your church doesn't have like tons of amps just sitting around free on your breakers. So, man, I don't know. Maybe I would. It's a really powerful light. No, we're gonna leave it in good for now. Okay, let's move on to a different kind of light. I'm gonna go with this Sheds 8 by 12 watt beam. And I'm going to throw this in fantastic for the price. They have a bigger brother version of this, but we have, I think, 12 of these that I purchased. And they're a great light to throw right underneath your screen on the back. And they can move up and down. So you could mount them vertically and go like this if you want to, but we really like that whole line of them. And you can create almost these waves of light with them. And they're not perfect. The diodes are very beamy, so it's not going to get you like one big solid line of light. But I would say that for the price, they're fantastic. All right, let's move on to another budget-friendly light. Circling back to, these lights in the top here on the God mode, the Boulder variable lights. Those are lights we're lighting people with. This Sheds Lico is another light that is for that purpose. Now, they do have RGBW versions, but this one I'm talking about the variable white. It's the same exact light. I reviewed these, full review on the channel. And I'm going to say that these are good. The fans on them were a little loud for me. The gobo holder doesn't fit perfectly when you try to slide a gobo type B in. The lens that is available for this is like a 15 degree or something, so it's a very narrow degree beam, and they don't offer any extra lens tubes for you to get a wider beam. Like on a Source 4 you have many options there. On Chavez you have options. This, you can technically take a Source 4 750's lens tubes and it does fit, but they say they don't completely recommend it. But I think that if you need ellipsoidals where you hard cut the light and you don't have the money to buy like some of the nicer Chavez stuff, these are good. Just know that they're not fantastic. All right, let's keep moving on. This is a lot I'm going to just throw right here in the meh category. I tried these Boulder 200 watt Fresnels. A lot of these companies have these zoomable Fresnels. And I don't know if I've just done something wrong with these lights. It's weird because whenever I plug them in, they're really pretty bright. But then no matter what I do, building out the DMX charts, they're just like dim for some reason. And so I think that the Fresnel thing, it's like trying to be an in-between of a ellipsoidal and a zoom wash type thing. And the barn doors just really didn't do that much. So I'm just going to stick it in the matte category. Okay, another light here that I'm going to stick in fantastic is the OPPSK light bar. Actually, okay, I would stick it in God tier because we have actually keep buying these and loving them. But there has been one light that's malfunctioned, so I'm going to stick it in fantastic. Okay, yeah, I'm going to live with that. The reason I like this light bar is because it has a great wash. It's very bright, but you can also throw the diffuser tube on that light and get some pixel effects if you want to run these lights like that as a forward-facing light. Gosh, they're under $150 each. I just think they're fantastic. You know, PowerCon in and out. It is 3-pin DMX, but whatever. We've been 3-pin for all our lights for a long time. So if you're looking for something to wash scenic things, wash walls, or do pixel effects type things, the OPPSK light bar is a good option there. All right, let's switch back to key lighting. Chauvet Slimpar VW. You know, this is a light that we have around our church in different areas, and I'm going to stick it in the niche category. I think for $350, which is what this light is going to run you with barn doors, maybe even more, the only reason I would buy this light is if I need completely silent lights that are daisy chainable out of PowerCon, and it's a good quality front light. So I just think for $350, you can get the God tiered Boulder variable white that has zoom and motion. You know, like you can move the light around. Now, you don't have a fan though with the Slimpar VW, but by the time you start, you know, shuttering off with the barn doors, the light, you lose a lot of the light output. And so if you have that niche situation where it's like a kid room or something with a low ceiling where you just need to light up a small stage, you know, those are going to be good for something like that. Okay, let's go to this Sheds Spot. I have a full review of this on the channel, and I'm going to stick this in the good tier. You know, we found now using it for a year in our smaller venue that it is a good solid spot. The gobos inside leave a little bit to be desired, but, you know, I would much rather have this spot over the beam, because it can zoom into kind of a beam-ish type look, but then you can zoom it out to be a wider spot to do some gobos and stuff like that. So remember, if you're doing these, you know, 19 by 15 watt zoom wash things, there's not any gobos in them. It's just the light being zoomed in and out and with different colors and pixel effects. But with the Shed Spot, that 160, the brightness is good. You do have some decent gobos. I'd just stick it in the good category. For the money, it's pretty good. Another light that we've heavily invested into is the Boulder replica of these variable whites, but I'm going to stick it in the fantastic category. It's not quite God tier for me. It's been rock solid, and I like it over some of the other 19 by 15 watt options out there from like Sheds, or some other companies. I mean, gosh, you can find replicas of these lights, the R2X style lights, all over Amazon. But this one I like because it stood the test of time. We've only had one light that's had a pixel lose one of its colors. And the thing I love about them, along with the variable white version, is the temperature controlled fans. So that way, when you're not outputting light, after about 30 seconds, 60 seconds, that fan will actually go off. So you don't have to necessarily worry about powering the light on and off. So I love the Boulder Pros. And of course, I'll link to all these in the description of this video as well. But let's go on our final light here, the B-Topper 19 by 15 watt. It throws another little trick in there, and I'm going to stick it in fantastic. It's actually brighter than any of the other 19 by 15 watt lights that I've reviewed, and it throws in a little ring around the edge of LEDs. I mean, it's just an extra party trick, honestly. The reason I'm not sticking it in God tier, which I was tempted to, is because the build quality. Now, for the price of a couple $100, this light outputs a ton of light. It has some nice effects, but it's very plasticky. Like, so plasticky that when you pick it up, you're like, this seems way too lightweight. So I can't stick it in God tier for that. I mean, the value is really high though, so that's why I went ahead and went fantastic with it. But yeah, I think I'm happy with this list. If you have any thoughts on it, drop those in the comments. Like, would you move any of these around? I mean, I might stick this Leco actually more in niche, because it is a pretty, yeah, I'm going to stick the sheds there in the niche, that Leco, because that's a very specific use case that you would want that for. We're actually going to use 2 of those RGBW versions to wash some architectural gobos static on the walls in the new worship center. So I don't think you can go wrong with any of these lights. I have full reviews of almost all of these on the channel, and a lot of these are on sale right now for Black Friday. So if you're looking to add some extra colors to your palette as you're painting and designing lights, tools in your toolkit, instruments to be able to utilize, then these are all good budget options, some better than others. If you're investing in one for the very first time, I would probably go, if you have your key light good and you're looking for effect lights, I would look at these, the Zoom Wash 19 by 15 watts, either the B-Topper or the Boulder, and then washing walls with those OPPSKs. I think that's a great combo, especially if you don't have haze. Then those are good things to look for. If you have haze, look at some spots, some beams. Those are great as well. All right. Well, if you disagree with me, drop it in the comments. And remember, at the end of the day, guys, these are just tools. Let's continue to do great things for God's glory. We'll see you in the next one.